Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Umansky bass by Submissionaudio. Before we deep dive into it though, let's see how it sounds like in the context of a mix and then we'll take it from there. So let's go. I hope that you guys enjoyed that demo I put together for Umansky bass. Now let's take a deep dive into what this is all about. So Umansky bass is the latest addition to the bass libraries from Submissionaudio. So far we've seen Euro bass, Punk bass, Gin bass, Grove bass from Simon Grove, and now we have Umansky bass. So if you don't know who Jacob Umansky is, he is most popularly known for being the bass player of the band Intervals. He's also played bass for a lot of other modern prog artists. He's one of the best bass players out there currently. And now we have a bass library sampling his Dingwall bass. I'm super excited that his Dingwall Z3X bass has now been programmed and it's available in software form for us to use. And God, does it sound absolutely amazing. So let's take a look at how the software looks like and go over some of the features and what exactly this does. So here we are. This is how Umansky bass looks like. First of all, the graphics are absolutely stunning. I love the way the guitar is right up front, and you have the fretboard view, so which means you can play each of these notes and you can listen to them. All the notes are sampled, so which means every single fret is sampled. So if you play a certain note, like say for example the B note on the 6th string, it's different from playing the B note on the 5th string, it's different from playing the B note on the 4th string, and so on. So that means the place where you program these notes will give you a different tone altogether, so you can match the performance of the bass to the performance of the guitar exactly, right? Like, so that's amazing. We saw this on Grove bass as well, and now we have this on Umansky bass as well. So all of this was played by Jacob Umansky. So essentially, if you program a bass line, it is him playing on your track. So that's awesome. So every single fret is sampled, and with the finger alternate articulation on, it would, I think, be impossible to hear repetition when pedaling the same note, because there are 16 samples per note per layer. So yeah, so it's, I think, impossible to hear the same thing being repeated. Every time you have the same note programmed, it's still going to sound different, and that's awesome. So apart from the DI mode, you have 3 mix ready tones. So if you like the bass tone on the album Circadian by Intervals, you can now get your hands on it by just clicking on the grit mode, because the tone on the grit mode is matched exactly to the Circadian album bass tone, right? Like, so you have that bass tone programmed built in right into the software. So one of the awesome things that also happen here is the change in graphics when we go into these different modes. They look absolutely stunning, by the way. And if you have looked at Grove bass, you kind of have a similar user interface. You still have the articulation section over here, letting you know which articulation you're currently on. You have the alternate picking algorithm, which is absolutely awesome. Because of this, you don't really hear any of the repetitions that happen. So you can just leave it on auto mode and that will do it for you. It'll take care of the alternate picking for you. Now, apart from this, you have the doom switch. So if you want like a super steady, strong bass, I guess mainly used for EDM and stuff like that, where you don't really want the bass or the low end to move too much, you can switch on the doom switch. You have the humanize button, as we saw in Groove bass. You have the position knob, which is absolutely awesome. Now there are very creative ways in which you can use the position knob. I'm going to show you a couple of examples later. But essentially what this position knob is telling us that the guitar begins from whichever position you've kind of put it from. And one of the ways I like to use this is I don't really think about whether the guitar starts from there, but I just move it around to see how the notes change and the tone changes. So after you program the notes, it's worth just moving this position knob around and seeing how it sounds like, because sometimes it sounds completely different from what you've actually programmed. Not sometimes, it always sounds different from what you programmed. So it's worth checking out as well. So apart from this, you have the mixer window, pretty straightforward. You have tone, compress, girth, and drive, which will be activated when you're on the grit mode and the heavy mode. So you can control the amount of distortion that you want to add. You can figure out your tone, a knob, by moving this around. You can compress. You can add some extra beef into the bass tone by adding the girth. That's about it. Pretty straightforward. I like how very simple the user interface is and how simply you can get a mix ready tone just by clicking on one of these things. So even if you do want to tweak some stuff within the plugin, within the software, you can just get into the mixer window and add girth or compress or add more distortion and so on. So that's essentially what the front of the user interface is. Now of course you have the settings knob over here. The settings knob is basically going to tell you all the available key switches that are there in this. So in this particular software, we have a lot more articulations that have been added from the previous libraries from Submissionaudio. In this one, you have the double thump, you have the double pop, apart from the 4-string functions that we saw in Grove Bass. You also have like fret hand mute, I don't know, like double thump pop, and all of these new articulations that have been added. So if you feel like you need that sound, you just get into it and add the appropriate articulation onto the note, onto your map, onto your MIDI map, and then you'll get that sound. So that's essentially how you kind of go about using this map. You can also move the notes around and make your own key switch map if you feel like that's easier to do, but the default key switch works pretty well. So I also want to show you how the position knob affects the tone completely. So I'm going to play you this section. Just listen to how it sounds like when the position knob is not engaged, and I will move the position knob around and show you how it sounds like when it is engaged. So this is the bass line. So now I'm going to move the position knob to some random value, maybe 2 positions later. Now let's see how the sound changes. Now you can immediately hear how the sound is completely different. Sometimes this might not really make sense when you look at the fretboard, but it doesn't really matter. Ultimately the sound is what matters, and you can just move the knob around to see if you can get a more humanized, or rather in terms of how it sounds like, if that's the sound you want. So let me move it to some obnoxious position and then let's see how that sounds like. Okay, so now I've moved it to, I think, around the 14th fret. Let's see how that sounds like. So as you can see, it sounds completely different. The notes are the same, and sometimes even the positions are kind of similar, but then it doesn't sound the same at all. So feel free to move this knob around and get creative with how you use this. You can even automate all of these knobs, which is absolutely awesome, because if you have a certain section in the song where you want it to sound a little different, like if you don't have to commit to one position, you can just automate it and move it around to make it work along with your song. I'm going to show you how I mixed the bass in this particular song that I just played. Essentially what I did was I just took the clean signal from this and added a few little tweaks to it, and then we have the bass tone. That's about it. So it's as simple as that. In the ending of the song, I took the grit section and did pretty much the same thing. I just compressed it a little, EQ'd it a little. I mean, of course, you don't really need to do that because these are already mix ready tones, but I just shaped it and made it fit in the song a little more better. That's about it. So let's get into it. Let me show you what I did and we'll take it from there. So first of all, I have an instance of FabFilter Pro Q3. Basically, I'm just doing an EQ to make it sit better in the context of the mix. Nothing really crazy. Apart from this, I'm using Saturn basically to just tame the transients in the higher mids and the highs. So Dingwall basses are known to be extremely gnarly in the high mids and the highs. And I don't really want to neuter them away by EQing all of the transients out, all of the brightness out. So I'm just kind of saturating it post, I think, yeah, the mids and the high mids and the highs. I'm just saturating a little bit using Saturn. After that, I have basically a sidechain compressor. I'm using the FabFilter Pro MB to sidechain my kick drum to this region, just so that it sits a little bit better in the mix. I have Claro, another EQ. This is basically like something that I've loaded up on all the tracks, just in case I want to move anything around. As you can see, it's pretty much zero. It's not really doing anything at all, except for high passing a little bit more. Apart from that, so the main thing that I am doing though is I'm compressing. Let's see how much of compression is going on. I mean, this thing is already compressed quite a bit, and the main reason I am even doing this compression is because I've kind of had an extra sub enforcement kind of going on, but it does still sit well together, and that's about it. Apart from this, I have a limiter, which is not really doing much. It's just basically catching any of the peaks that might be there, just maybe touching the needle. That's about it, nothing beyond that. So that's it from me, guys. Thanks so much for checking out this video. I hope that you liked this walkthrough. I absolutely love the sound of the Umansky bass. This is what I've been searching for a very long time, and I don't have access to a Dingwall bass where I'm from right now. So having a Dingwall Z3X bass, a 6-string bass at my disposal right away is absolutely awesome. You can also tell how well it has been recorded, and it sounds absolutely flawless. You can just program it, and I would be more than happy to just use this as the final bass tone in any of my songs or in my productions. So I'm super happy with it. Let me know if you like it. Let me know in the comment section below how you go about using this in your own songs. Do you like it? Does it sound realistic? I think it does. I think it sounds absolutely amazing. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't miss out. So I keep uploading stuff here. If you guys like the music that you heard from me, I keep posting a new track every single week over here. So hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos from me. And most of the times I also give out the stems, the backing tracks, neural DSP presets, and so on for the tracks that I'm putting out. So it's a good time to be subscribed. So until next time, I will see you. I've been Sanjay, and this has been Umansky Bass from Submissionaudio. See you.